Now, as we all know that Francis Ngannou has recently signed to the PFL, in my opinion, a massive make or break moment in this PFL deal will be how successful Francis Ngannou's boxing debut is, and also who it will be against. Now, we don't really know who Francis Ngannou is in talks with to fight in boxing. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement and news. But the reason why I say this is a big make or break for Ngannou is the make is massive. If Francis Ngannou can fight one of these guys, one of these big name boxers, and then win, all of a sudden his fight in the PFL will be a lot more popular, a lot more people will be excited to watch it. But if he loses in boxing, all of a sudden Francis Ngannou's stock will decrease a little bit, and then people won't be as excited for the PFL fight. And so in this video I've kind of compiled like a lot of fighters I think unrealistic for Ngannou to fight, but also realistic for Ngannou to fight, and also who he wants to fight. And he seems to be really keen on making his boxing debut in the rankings. So I've gone to this website here, box.live. They've got all the rankings, I believe. And to be honest, I actually quite like this website. It's quite a good website for a bit of maybe like a casual boxing fan like me to be able to see the rankings and stuff like that. And I pulled out, in my opinion, who the biggest names are. You can see them at the top here, and I will talk about each individual fighter as we go on. But the fight that Francis Ngannou really wants is the Tyson Fury fight. I can tell you something, I really don't think this fight is going to happen. And the reason why is Tyson Fury is apparently in talks to fight multiple people. Tyson Fury is in talks to fight Anthony Joshua, and he's also in talks to fight an Australian fighter in Australia as well. I saw that come out recently as well. So Tyson Fury's in talks to defend his belt against other people. You know, he's not in talks with Ngannou. I don't believe he's truly interested in the Francis Ngannou fight either. So that kind of does leave a bunch of other options open. He really did also mention he wanted the Anthony Joshua fight. Now, Anthony Joshua and both of his manager have come out and said that they're actually not interested in the fight. They don't want to do a gimmick fight. And also, as I said, Anthony Joshua is in talks to fight Tyson Fury, and that's a bigger fight than fighting Francis Ngannou. Now, another fighter that I did bring up as well, well, I didn't bring up, but has been in talks, is Deontay Wilder. And out of all of the big name boxers, like all of the most popular boxers in the world that everybody knows, Deontay Wilder seems to be like the most interested in a boxing fight. Am I wrong? Like, he seems to be the most keen. Like, he was saying stuff like he would box Ngannou and then fight in MMA, and he seemed kind of genuine. He really did. And also, even then, Deontay Wilder's 37 years old. You know, he's lost to Tyson Fury a couple of times, fought to a draw. Probably is quite far away from getting another title shot potentially. So I feel like now would be a pretty good time for Francis Ngannou and Deontay Wilder to have a fight. Now, I do think Deontay Wilder would beat Francis Ngannou. And, well, to be fair, I think all of these guys would beat Francis Ngannou if we're being realistic. But yeah, I think Deontay Wilder would be a good fight for Ngannou. Another option is Shelly Zhang. Now, Shelly Zhang, his name value is at the top right now. The rumor is, though, I mean, it might even be not even rumored, but I do believe he actually had a rematch clause with Joe Joyce. And I think Joe Joyce has activated that rematch clause, or he's going to. He's planning on doing it. So we're probably going to see Joe Joyce versus Shelly Zhang rematch. And it is also worth noting that's for an interim title bout. They probably don't want Francis Ngannou fighting for a belt. Even if these fights were to happen, they might even be labelled as exhibition fights if they're with a belt, so they don't actually defend their belt against Francis Ngannou. Because imagine if Francis Ngannou beats one of these guys in boxing, and then what are they going to do? Because he's signed to PFL and an MMA deal. You know, it just doesn't really help the sport at all. Another fighter that could be keen, Andy Ruiz Jr. I've never seen any talk about Andy Ruiz Jr. taking on Francis Ngannou. I mean, it could happen. Andy Ruiz Jr., his name value, I mean, obviously I could be wrong here because I don't follow boxing that much, but I feel like Andy Ruiz Jr.'s name value is not as high as it was once when it was back in its peak. But I think that Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Francis Ngannou could be a good fight. I mean, obviously Dillian Whyte is potentially an option as well. Dillian Whyte, in my opinion, I've been watching his fights, and he seems like he slowed down a lot. You know, like he didn't look that great against Jermaine Franklin. Now, we do know that Jermaine Franklin is a great fighter, but he didn't look that good against Franklin, and then he got finished relatively early for a boxing fight against Tyson Fury. And then another fighter, my local New Zealand guy, is Joseph Parker, and I think honestly Joseph Parker versus Francis Ngannou would actually be quite a good fight, because once again, Joseph Parker, he's probably a couple of fights away from getting another title shot opportunity. You know, he did have his opportunity against Joe Joyce, because as you guys know, he was at the top of his career after his win over Andy Ruiz Jr. and Hughie Fury. But then he lost to Joshua and Dillian Whyte back to back. And then he went on this massive win streak recently, beat Derek Chisora twice, and then he fought Joe Joyce in what potentially was a title eliminator. And Joe Joyce beat him up a little bit, you know, Joe Joyce ate a lot of his best shots and kept going forward. And now he's on a 2-fight win streak. Once again, as I said, he's probably another win streak away from another title shot opportunity. And he's also very close with Tyson Fury. Joseph Parker versus Francis Ngannou would bring Tyson Fury out. Tyson Fury would go to the press conferences. Tyson Fury would be in the crowd, or maybe he might even be in the corner of Parker. He would be in the talks. He'll be promoting the fight. He'll be promoting Parker versus Ngannou. It would be a big event if Joseph Parker did fight Francis Ngannou. And I almost feel like this is actually one of the more realistic options, because I could see Joseph Parker being keen on a payday if he can get a big one against Francis Ngannou. But aside from that, I really think Deontay Wilder is more likely option. You know, who aside from Deontay Wilder has expressed a lot of interest. A lot of people love to say that Tyson Fury's keen. I'm telling you, he never was, man. He never was interested. He was just doing it all for publicity. He's not keen. Anthony Joshua's publicly said he's not interested in the fight. I mean, Shelly Zhang's potentially going to have to fight Joe Joyce. Andy Ruiz Jr., I mean, that's interesting. Dillian Whyte, potentially. And then Joseph Parker, potentially as well. There's a couple of options here. I'm wondering what Francis Ngannou is going to try and set up. You know, I think the Parker fight would be interesting. I really do think him versus Joseph Parker could be interesting, especially if you can get Tyson Fury significantly involved, and you can get Tyson Fury to publicly say that he'll fight Ngannou if he beats Parker, just to really put a bit more on it. That's an interesting fight. So I don't know. There's a lot of different options though at heavyweight that he could fight, but I was just wondering what you guys think as well. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I think this is a big make or break moment for Francis Ngannou's career. If he can find a big name boxer, win or lose, if he doesn't get embarrassed, I mean, his stock will probably go up. If he fights a close and competitive fight, his stock will go up. If he wins, mate, so we're talking about Francis Ngannou in the rankings of boxing now. There's a lot of upside for this. There's a lot of downside. But I think this is a real big make or break moment for Ngannou's career, and I've kind of just laid out a lot of options that he potentially has in the boxing world. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.